Big Baker Ronnie. So Ronnie, you know that I always appreciate you being so willing to taste test our products before we sell them. Penny paused, biting on her lower lip. She had to choose her next words carefully. Ronnie was still her friend after all. But I feel like it's gotten a bit excessive.
What? No way.
Ronnie made a face behind her glasses.
I mean, we've got to make sure they're perfect, right? I have a very refined palate when it comes to this kind of thing.
I know. Believe me, I know. Penny chuckled awkwardly. God, this was awkward. It's just, you're kind of cutting into our profits. Just a smidge. Just a little thing, really? Ronnie blinked, seemingly unfazed by such a detrimental statement. It could have been, perhaps, the fact that she was currently clutching a cupcake like a handfruit in one of her fluffy hands that was making her so unresponsive. Frosting dotted the corners of her mouth, her cheeks swollen to the size of cupcakes themselves. Her fat, uncaring face seemed to rest on a great double chin that pulled against her chest.
So, make more.
Ronnie snorted.
What's the problem?
Unbelievable. Her big pig of a boss just expected her to make more. She was the one eating it all. And with her employee discount, that meant a serious portion of profit was coming out of their pockets and right into that big fat gut of hers. Well, Ronnie, sweetie, you know as well as I do that it's not that simple to just make more. Penny began gently. You have to have more resources, which means we have to make more money, which means we have to sell the product that we already have to someone who doesn't have an employee discount. Beneath the pink smock that was their uniform, Ronnie's great gut gurgled. Instinctively, she mowed down on her cupcake. It was easily the most prominent thing about her now, that belly of hers. In the sense that it was a dangerously wide and doughy thing that often knocked over appliances and utensils that stood in the way of the big brunette buffalo, but also in the sense that it was her main processor these days. Ever since they had gone into business together, Ronnie would just snack all day long.
I see your point.
Ronnie stroked her swaddling second chin thoughtfully.
So ask those parents of yours for another loan. We can't afford to fall behind now. We just got started.
With that, Ronnie struggled to rise to her feet. It was a task nearly impossible to do on her own anymore, but she could usually manage to avoid a conversation that she didn't exactly want to have. The big bespectacled baker stood from her seat and waddled towards the office. Or you could just not eat everything in sight. Penny snapped. Ronnie, I think it's time to cut you off.
What? No way.
Ronnie said dismissively, making her slow, ponderous way to the office, her belly brushing against it before she was within 2 steps of the doorway.
I opened my own bakery because I've always wanted to make sweets. Not so I could not eat them. Penny, I think you're being, oof.
Ronnie suddenly stopped, dead in her tracks. She had gotten halfway through the doorway, when suddenly she'd felt a catch.
Okay, maybe you're right.
Ronnie said without turning around.
I think I may have to cut back. Just a little.
I'm glad you see it my way, Penny said with a smile, holding her arms out for a hug. Come here.
I can't.
Ronnie said sheepishly.
I am stuck.
I'm beginning to think that you don't know what the phrase cut back means. Penny steepled her fingers, perfectly manicured fingers clicking against one another as she paused for effect. When I said I think you should cut back, I didn't mean that you should have continued at the exact same pace, slowly increasing your intake over the course of several months. Because I'm pretty sure that'd be the opposite of cutting back. That's cutting forward, Ronnie. Penny sucked in her lower lip, pausing for was dramatic effect. In fact, it's not even cutting. You're just making more paper.
Wouldn't the opposite of scissors be rock instead of paper?
Ronnie interjected, holding up a sausagey pointer finger.
I mean, since rock beats paper, and all.
What? No. Paper is the opposite of scissors. Like scissors beats paper.
But rock beats scissors, so wouldn't that mean that I'm rocking this whole bakery thing?
What? No, I'm using a metaphor, Ronnie. You're missing the point. Penny growled as she palmed her face, long ivory fingers sliding down her cheek. Ronnie, do you remember when we had our little talk about you cutting back?
Uh-huh.
And how you tried to dismiss me and then immediately got stuck in the doorway?
I do.
And do you recall, and I cannot stress this enough because it is incredibly important to the future posterity of our business together, do you recall saying the words, I think I should cut back? Ronnie cupped her jowls with all 4 of her fatty fingers, rubbing the swell of her second chin thoughtfully.
Nope. Not ringing any bells.
You cannot be serious.
Am I ever anything but?
Penny shot up from her end of the corner booth, pushing the table further out into the dining area, and let out a well-practiced and patented huff that she could acquire only after working with someone so thick-headed and gluttonous as Ronnie Wilson. She threw her hands up in the air, her baggy pink sleeves swishing this way and that, as she began a tight and furious pace around the circumference of Ronnie's belly. Her big pile of a business partner just stared, innocently, as the smaller and skinnier of the two began to mutter to herself about this thing and that. Strangle this, choke that, shove this up / down there. Honestly, Ronnie couldn't quite see where all the anger was coming from. For as long as they'd known each other, Penny had been something of a pill, but lately she just seemed so angry all the time. At her. Honestly, who could ever have stayed mad at her?
Look, I think I know where this is coming from,
Ronnie said with a sagely nod, which caused her chins to swell and pool against her immense chest. Do you? Penny suddenly whipped around on her no-slip shoes. Because I'm getting the distinct impression that you have no idea why I'm so upset with you.
This is about me eating the last profiterole, isn't it?
Ronnie held out an arm thicker than most women's waists.
You can admit it, I'm not that dense. And I'm not too big to admit when I'm wrong.
I somehow doubt that.
So, I tell you what, I'm sorry I ate your snacks.
Ronnie paused before her head tilted to the side, her signature smile returning.
Better?
No, not better. Penny roared. Ronnie, what did we open this bakery for?
So I could live out my childhood dream of owning a bakery.
Ronnie answered matter-of-factly, plucking cookies from a nearby plate placed on the back of the booth. And to make money. Penny held out her hands in front of her face. Ronnie, we need to make money if we want to stay in business. And keeping you fed and this place renovated so you can come to work is literally eating up all of our profits. There was another pause, this time one with much more weight to it. The only sounds were Ronnie's as she instinctively snacked on the freshly baked cookies that she'd placed within arm's length. Crumbs fell from the corners of her mouth, falling into the vast canyon of cleavage formed by her sloping, pillowy breasts, or catching between her chins. With her free hand, Ronnie almost seemed to idly grab several inches of her immensity, filling a handful and a half with what could have been a few drops in her ocean of a figure, and groping it contemplatively.
I think I see what you're saying here.
Ronnie said finally, swallowing her cookie. I doubt it, but entertain me. Penny said with a sarcastic roll of her finger. Go on. Please. Tell me what you think I'm driving at here.
That my role in this whole establishment is probably suited to outside management.
Ronnie said with a turn of her nose as she jiggled her billowing belly, which pulled lazily on the floor from her seated position in the booth.
Like, from home. In my jammies.
Okay, that's better than nothing. Penny curled an eyebrow. I was shooting for putting you on a diet, but I'll take what I can get.
Yeah, I'll be an idea person.
Ronnie's fat face lit up exuberantly.
Heck, it was my idea to start a bakery in the first place. I'm already halfway there. I can help you come up ideas to help us keep up with our clientele.
Ronnie, you are our clientele.
First idea, how to keep these cupcakes coming.
Ronnie snapped her fat sausagey fingers.
Go.
Ronnie, we're cookies.
Let's brainstorm how to make cupcakes and cookies together, and twice as many of them.
I'm in hell. This is literally hell.